Okay, so good afternoon or good morning if you're still in British Columbia and you're joining us live. I'm just doing an overview of some updates to the My Home Inventory and Repair Tool app, which is growing at a good rate. We've got quite a few people who have signed up and are looking at the application, but we want this to be more than just a general tool for, on reserve, off reserve Indigenous homeowners and renters. This is a individual and family preparedness support tool as well. And we want to build in as many resources and functionality for Indigenous peoples as possible, because the more information that they can have at their fingertips, especially coming directly from technical experts in emergency management, hazardous materials assessment, restoration, repairs, even post-emergency and post-disaster, the better. And that's what I'm going to be going through today, is just some of the updates that we've got in here. And while we propagate across the TikTok live stream, if you missed our daily situation brief for Indigenous Emergency Management, that is now posted on our YouTube. So that's on our YT and our FB social posts. You can see those there currently right now, and you can get a copy of our daily situation report at app.hazardscape.com if you haven't accessed that. And there every day you'll get an updated situation report with the ability to download the SITREP into a Word document for you to share with your community and your leadership, if that's your role within your own Indigenous emergency management system. So where we're going to start off is this is the My Home Inventory Repair tool. It is aimed at supporting First Nation, Métis, and Inuit peoples with three things. One, cataloging their home repairs to their nation or their bands as a way to kind of project manage those updates for home repairs and renovations that are needed for your housing. Two, it's got an inventory tool on here for evacuation. In case you evacuate, it's always good to have a list of personal belongings in your home, especially if Indigenous Services Canada approves Emergency Management Assistance Program funding for on-reserve homeowners. And then three, we've added in a functionality to help families and others be better prepared for emergencies and disasters. So when you log into the application, right away you're going to see the home inventory, the repair request, and the preparedness guide. And the preparedness guide is a new feature, and it's specific for First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples and their context and circumstances of having to evacuate off reserve or from small remote communities, whatever it might be. So this is a new feature that we're working with All About Abatement, which is a First Nations owned hazardous materials abatement organization, and a Canadian owned Premier Fire and Flood Restoration. They're going to be contributing to the development of this homeowner hazardous material repair, renovation, and restoration knowledge hub. So whether you're on reserve, off reserve, in an Inuit community, in a Métis nation, you're going to start to be able to access good quality information on how to deal with asbestos, lead, even soft good contamination after an evacuation or after a wildfire, whatever it might be. You're going to be able to come here and get some good information. Also, what we've added is just a checklist for elders, youth, individuals, families, even organization staff at the band level or the nation level, on just some things that you can do before, wildfire season or flood season or whatever it might be, to kind of enhance your own personal emergency preparedness. And this is going to be things that we add in here, so you can also understand, what does a community evacuation plan cover? What is the role of an on-reserve emergency management coordinator, or one in an Inuit or Métis community? What should you expect when you evacuate to a new community? And how should municipalities treat Indigenous peoples who are evacuated? And how you, as a citizen of your nation or a member of your nation, how can you engage with your emergency management department, whether it's on reserve or off reserve, in a Innu or Inuit community or Métis community? So this is a new feature that we're adding to those that are using the toolkit, to help them kind of just get some more knowledge, get some more information, and be a little bit better prepared. Because we know disaster and emergency preparedness starts at home. It starts with our elders, it starts with our youth, it starts with families, it starts with the individuals in our communities at home being prepared. So this is a easy, accessible tool for you to access, along with the inventory section and the repair request section. Where this fits in to disaster and emergency management is mainly preparedness and disaster recovery. So when we're talking about disaster recovery, if you've been evacuated from your home or your community, there's going to be several steps to that, and it's going to include a re-entry phase, and then a short, medium, and long-term recovery phase. And through that re-entry and recovery, you may be eligible for Indigenous Services Canada's Emergency Management Assistance Program funding. Or if you're lucky enough, your community may have some insurance on the band-owned homes. Or you may even be lucky enough to have insurance yourself, or contents insurance, if you can find an insurance company that will insure on-reserve homes or homes in small, remote communities. And this home inventory tool is something that you can start to pre-populate before an evacuation, because you don't want to be doing this while you're sitting in an evacuation center. You don't want to have to be going through, a mental exercise of everything that you have in your home and in your drawers and in your bins and in your cabin, including, some of those traditional items, those cultural items, books, recordings, baskets, beadwork, drums, regalia. Even trapping equipment and hunting equipment can be listed in here. So you would do this for everyone in the home, whether they are responsible for themselves or you're responsible for them because they're dependent. But this is built for not only the parents and the other individuals, it's for caregivers too. And you can add as many people as you want. You can add your children. You can also add kind of some high-level information about the home. And then you can download that into a PDF report. So where this PDF report or Excel sheet come in handy is if you do have to apply for government funding, you already have it available to amend and attach to your recovery application. So that's the whole point of this, is it's preparedness in the event that you're evacuated. Maybe there's contamination of wildfire smoke or floodwaters or sewer backup in the home. If there's any level of contamination or mold or asbestos or lead in the home, and that needs to be abated and remediated following an evacuation or a total loss, this is where this list is going to come in really handy, because going through your cabin or going through your home and your garage and your sheds and all of your dresser drawers, trying to think of everything that was in there that you lost is not an easy task. So if you combine this list with photos, Indigenous Services Canada will be more likely to be able to approve your application because you've got photographic and documented evidence in a very organized and consistent way. And I've worked with way too many, especially on reserve families, way more than I would ever like, having to sit down through that process and go mentally through their home to try and remember everything that was burned down in a wildfire or flooded. It's just not a good experience. So doing this, taking just a little bit of time before an evacuation is going to help you not only be better prepared, but maximize the government funding that you could be eligible for if your house was a total loss, or there was significant damage, or even just wildfire contamination, wildfire smoke contamination, or sewer backup contamination. Another feature that we've included for homeowners is just a quick tracking tool, because so many people make housing repair requests to their nation, and sometimes, a lot of times, those requests are, left or forgotten or whatever. And if you've done it through email, or you've done it through a clipboard and a piece of paper, or dropped off a letter at the band office, sometimes we don't always remember to keep those records to provide evidence of what we've already submitted. Or maybe the nation has lost it, or the housing coordinator system is not great. So we've also included a My Home Repair requests tool in here, where you can kind of talk about, mold or water damage in the kitchen, prioritize it. How long has it been going on? When do you need it by? A description. Do you need to flag it potentially for Jordan's principal funding because you have children at home or you're a caregiver? If the repair is immediate and fits under Jordan principal, you can flag it. And you print out a report as well. And what that gives you is you then have all of your home repair requests cataloged by date, and you can go in and see what you submitted to the band office, what the housing coordinator has, and you've got kind of almost like a project management tool here to kind of talk about, windows and door issues, mold, plumbing, safety hazard, pests, roofing, right? And this is applicable whether you're on reserve or off reserve. And then you can download that in an Excel report or a PDF. Hi, Erlone. Yeah, it's my home. I can put it in the comments. If you want me to DM you, I'm not sure if I'm following you or not. I can follow you. But I'll follow you and try to remember that DM as well. But it's myhome.hazardscape.com. And yeah, you get access to the home inventory. So whether you're an individual adult caregiver or parent, or you're the homeowner or the renter, you can choose. It's basically the same, but the only difference is if you're just an individual living in someone's home, you're not going to be responsible for some of the appliances and the things like that they would list. So that's not on here, but it is on the one for the homeowner. And then you also get this guide here that we're building out, which is particularly going to be helpful for on reserve and off reserve, especially around hazardous materials for your home, post disaster repair, renovation, restoration resources. Because here's the other thing I've noticed, with doing a lot of on reserve restoration, and this is applicable to on off reserve and Inuit communities, is because a lot of small remote communities can't get insurance. If they have a house fire or a flood, even if it's a structural fire from a grease fire or huge mold abatement, they are not used to going through the insurance process, because one, the band probably does that for them, and two, because they don't have insurance, they don't have the insurance company guiding them through restoration. But even if you live in band-owned housing, as a homeowner, you have a right and a responsibility to make sure that the repairs get done properly, that all of your items get restored respectfully and properly. And it's good for homeowners to understand some of these processes, because then it gives them a little bit of extra empowerment to move along and help make those decisions and help the band, keep the band accountable, right? Because you don't want to just sit idly by in a major restoration of your home thinking that the housing coordinator or the disaster recovery team is going to take care of it for you. Chances are they're just going to tell the restoration teams to do what they need to do. And it's the homeowner or the people living in the home that should be in constant communication with the restoration company, making sure that if you have drums, beadwork, pelts, whatever it is in the home, one, make sure that they're taking care of that respectfully in a way that you want it done. Two, cleaning your home after a wildfire evacuation or a flood, even if the fire didn't touch your house. There are specific protocols to make sure that all the smoke contamination is out of your house and never going to be a problem, including in your attic, right? Very important that if your attic is really contaminated with wildfire smoke, that the insulation gets replaced, especially if it's asbestos or vermiculite. Not only for the air quality of the home, but just for the smell of the home, especially if you have children in the home. There's a lot of things to know post-disaster, post-emergency, when those inspectors and assessors come walking around your house to check on the damage. You should be asking for testing results, right? If they do a tape lift test in your home for smoke damage, you should be asking for those test results, understanding what level of contamination was in your home, what part of your home, or in your attic. That's what this new section of the app is going to do. It's going to help educate on reserve, off reserve, Inuit, Métis, First Nation homeowners before, during, after, and then give you some idea of what the community's evacuation, what you can ask your community about in their plans. And then there's going to be some additional resources listed in here for Indigenous, like First Nations, Métis, Inuit peoples, homeowners, caregivers, renters. So even for family and child services, if a caregiver has some children or youth, being able to catalog all of the things that they come with and that they purchase for them Really important, right? Because if you are evacuated and some of that stuff is lost or damaged, either Jordan's Principle or the Indigenous Services Canada EMAP funding program will replace all of the essential goods. So having that all in a downloadable PDF that you can attach to your application, it saves a lot of time and money. Same with having all of your housing repairs tracked on your dashboard so you can keep the nation accountable, right? Come election time with chief and council. If you keep submitting the same home repair and housing keeps telling you they never got it or they don't have it or they lost it, you can keep updating it with that information, and you know, you can just keep pumping it to them, right? You can add another request in here. It's really easy. It's accountability. And then even as, home and renovation programs, I think Canada is at some level trying to improve the housing crisis going on, especially with on-reserve nations and maybe even in Inuit communities. As programs develop, as financial assistance becomes available, homeowners on reserve, even if it's a nation-owned home, having a complete record of all of the issues at your fingertips could really help and speed things up if a new funding program comes into play, and you haven't had your repairs, figured out or taken care of in the past, right? So really good to kind of have that ownership, take that ownership even of the band homes that you live in, to make sure that you're getting treated and getting the repairs and renovations that you deserve. And then even just having a little bit of an idea of what a community evacuation plan should cover. You can ask your elected officials, you can ask your on reserve or off reserve emergency management coordinator, or if you live in agreed lands or Inuit lands, what should you expect when you evacuate to a host community, right? Culturally appropriate food, ceremony access, language services. You have a right to ask for these things when you have to evacuate for to another community. And even just getting, a request to be housed near extended family, it's a legitimate and important need. So elders and youth and vulnerable people are not evacuated across huge regions, right? When you're evacuated at a welcome center or reception center in a new community, it's very stressful. Having your own quick checklist in your pocket on your phone about your rights, in something that you can show the social worker team and say, look, Hazardscape is a support for Indigenous Emergency Management. This is what they recommend. You can advocate for yourself to be in a bit better position. So that's how we're trying to help educate and inform Indigenous peoples across Canada, especially in small remote communities, on how to ask and deal with all of these issues, especially around hazardous materials in their home and post-disaster repair and restoration resources. You have rights. You have a right to ask. And if you are evacuated out of your nation in a totally new community, especially elders, some elders have never been off their reserve for decades. They may not even know English. They can now have some resources in their pocket with their family member to kind of guide them and say, look, stand up, advocate. This is what you're entitled to, and you shouldn't have to worry about asking for it, especially if you're in a new community where things are already unfamiliar and where maybe a lot of the food may be unfamiliar. You're already dealing with enough stress. Just trying to get the basics but every Indigenous person, every child, man, woman, 2+S person in Indigenous communities deserve understanding what evacuation expenses might be covered, keeping records of your costs for reimbursement, know how to access your bank remotely, confirm you have a reliable way out of your community. All that should be well understood and accessible to you in terms of having that information. And then, yeah, so this is, you can sign up and get access to this application after we get 100 users that have joined for a year. You know, we're donating money to First Nations Child and Family Services charity. Basically, what we'll do at the time, if we hit 100 annual subscribers, then we're going to donate portions of that money to whoever the group in the app decides. So we'll put out a poll and say, okay, should we donate money to this child and family service org or this Indigenous charity, whatever it is. The people in the app will get to decide that. And then the people in the app, the annual subscribers, can also send us ideas and feedback and things that they want to see in this toolkit for them to help them, you know, be better prepared for their home. And I'll give you an example, actually. If you know in your house that in your kitchen, let's say, where is it? It's under safety. Let's say you're on a, you know, forced air propane furnace, right? And right there, even just having some of the information about the furnace, including the serial number, the make and the model, if it's -50 and your propane thickens up and your furnace shuts down, or even if your furnace has a mechanical issue, being able to call right away your housing coordinator and give them some very quick information about the furnace, the make, the model. When they send out plumbers or whoever coming out to fix it, that's going to get them prepared to come out and understand the situation. So often what you'll find is repair furnace people will come out and they'll look at the furnace, they'll take a look at it. If they need a part, they'll have to leave and come back. Thanks, Jay. And you want to sidestep some of those things. So that's why with a lot of these repair tools, you can even put in for like your dishwasher, your washer, your dryer, make, model, serial number, right? You want to have all of that on hand. So if there is a reimbursement program, then at least you know the make, model, serial number. The government will generally only give you enough money for base model anyway, and it's usually through the band. But if you can include some of this, that's going to speed up your financial reimbursement, right? And then at least you can try to do some comparisons of what you had before if you liked it or if you want a little bit better. Same with, you know, especially right on reserve, overcrowding is such an issue. And sometimes Ottawa and people don't understand that it might be quite normal to have 4 sofas in a home. It can be quite normal to have 8 beds in a 4-bedroom house. So being able to go into the master bedroom and record, you know, that there's a bed in there with a bed frame and a mattress and a description and an estimated value, along with all of the other individuals in the home being able to do that, you can then stack all of these together for Indigenous Services Canada and say, look, every single person in the home. This is how many jackets they had, how many chairs, how many coffee tables, how many beds, whatever, even down to cultural items, right? That is just going to speed up and help your financial assistance application. So if you have any questions, please let me know. This is all part of our Indigenous Emergency Management system that we're trying to build out to help. The upcoming wildfire season this year, next year, the next 4 years is not going to be good. We are going to have very, very, very hot weather. The amount of smoke, wildfire smoke contamination that is going to occur across the country, especially in small, remote northern communities, is going to be extremely incredible. And even if your home isn't impacted directly by the flames of a wildfire, if your air quality on your reserve or in your community hits a certain level from wildfire smoke, your soffits are sucking in wildfire smoke into your attic. And all of that wildfire contamination, ash, soot, and char is just going to settle onto your insulation. And if your insulation is asbestos or vermiculite or even updated fiberglass or spray-in, if that's not properly cleaned and restored, that contamination is going to sit in your house. And in the springtime, you're going to smell it because when it starts to rain and warm up, that humidity is going to activate those particles and your house is going to smell like wildfire smoke again. But then it's just going to start circulating in your attic and into your home. So your First Nations, especially housing managers on reserve, need to know that they've got to monitor the air quality if there's a wildfire in the area, because as soon as that air quality gets to a certain criteria, the emergency management coordinator for the community should be phoning ISK or emailing ISK and saying, we're now in a state of emergency for wildfire smoke contamination. And that can also get air purifier systems in the community. It could also, dependent on the situation, if I was a chief and council, I would be going for air purification systems for community centers, health centers, elders lodges, band offices. Wherever there is air intake, I would be running ISK down and saying, look, we need to get all of this installed professionally now. Even if there's a heat wave, air conditioning systems and fans. Once the temperatures get to a certain degree and for a certain amount of time and it's considered a heat wave or a hot heat event, emergency management coordinators, especially on reserve, because that's what EMAP specifically covers under the Indian Act, is getting those resources for the community so they can deal with smoke contamination, heat waves, even cold snaps with heaters, whatever it is. It's very important. And this restoration piece that we're going to be building out, there's cleaning protocols for evacuees that return from a flood, after a flood or a wildfire. And the free cleaning kits that the Canadian Red Cross gives out are garbage. I'll start with that. They will tell communities, hey, we're going to send you pallets and pallets of free home cleaning kits following a flood or a fire. And the community signed contracts with the Canadian Red Cross, thinking that these free cleaning kits are going to improve the health of their elders and youth and members. But in actuality, the cleaning kits are garbage. And they're really just kind of like I equate them to, like, you know, when you buy cereal and you get a free prize inside, so you're apt to buy the cereal. I look at it like the Red Cross gives out these cleaning kits as something attractive for the nations to sign contracts with them, because the smoke bomb, the smoke, wildfire smoke, or any kind of smoke bomb that they give in the can, it does not work. It's a false sense of security. It doesn't do anything. The cleaner that they put into those kits, if you're following a power outage and your home floods, like, those don't do anything for mold. It doesn't do anything to restore any level of sewer contamination. They're garbage kits. And they also kind of make people feel like, well, if I just go around my house and I scrub off the surfaces and clean things, it'll be better. That also is false, because smoke contamination can get into your couch, into your quilts, into your blankets, into your curtains, any soft goods, your kids' stuffed toys, pillows. All of that gets contaminated. And if it's not cleaned properly, it's going to stay there and it's going to stink and it's going to contribute to asthma issues. Those kits don't do anything for soft goods. So I always recommend to First Nations, don't accept the kits, only accept professional restoration services where you have professionals come into the community, do the testing, come in with the cleaning protocols, environmental hygienists, and work with each person in the home to make sure that everything they want to keep and cleaned is cataloged and documented. Anything that can be thrown out can be thrown out. But document everything, because even if you throw it out, Indigenous Services Canada will provide financial assistance for it if it's eligible, right? And that's just kind of part of this whole post-disaster repair restoration piece. And again, it goes back to why this home inventory is so important, because you can get financial assistance for EMAP eligible emergencies and disasters from the government. And that process already takes long enough. You don't want to contribute to that length of time by having to kind of take a week or few days to like list everything out and then miss something and have to go back and reapply, right? You want to do it all in one shot. Trust me. You want to have your application to ISC for financial assistance in as soon as possible in the full scope. So they're only doing one review and cutting one check. Because if it turns into like your application and then they review it and make a payment, but you forget something and you want to go add something back and they review it, it's the longer that whole thing takes, the longer the ISC reviews get. Because it becomes less of a priority. Because what they'll say is, well, you've already submitted your first application. The second and third must not have as critical priority things, so they'll hold it and hold it. And I've seen them hold it for months and months. So across an entire community, if an entire community could get their statement of loss and damage applications and all of their lists done in a couple of weeks, because all members and individuals have this PDF report already, it's going to speed up things really, really quickly, especially if you can download the Excel. Because if there's an assessment company that is doing the pricing for all of your goods, the valuation for everything, sending them an Excel sheet is going to speed it up, because typically ISC only gives a paper copy for the application. So what happens is you fill out the paper copy, that goes to the assessor, they have to type it all out into Excel, and then fill in the values. Well, if you can already give them the Excel report, that is going to save a lot of time. Because if you think about them having to type out 400 applications like this for every individual before you can get your money, that's a lot of time. So this really speeds things up. And I mean, the other nice thing is in your profile, you can download your data. You can export it all as well. So I think what I'll do too is add an API key. So if you are dealing with like a firm that the nation hires, like an insurance assessor or a damage assessor, that you can provide an API key to them and they can just pull your data right from your account with your permission. It could potentially go right into their system and populate right away and integrate that way. So that's that's a quick overview of this tool and how we're trying to create something with people across the country to be better prepared for the wildfires and the climate change issues that are going to come our way, especially this summer and next summer. It's not going to get any better. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Or if you're interested in this, head over to myhome.hazardscape.com. The revenue generated, it's not a lot. It's not, I hope it's not a big cost. It's only $59 for the entire year. That some of that money is going to be donated to First Nations Child and Family Services. Some of that money goes to making sure that the server and this website and this app is hosted with all of the features in it, and then for future improvements and building out additional tools as members in the app want them. We can build out future resources and tools for them, especially if they want to add different aspects to it. But at the end of the day, even if this app were to generate, a few $1,000s a month, then even some of that money will go back into free training courses for emergency management. Whatever, we'll figure based on who's in the app and who's contributing. We'll have some community polls on how they'd like to see the money given back to the community that is using this and contributing. So that'll all be as open and transparent as possible. All right, I think that's going to be it for this afternoon's overview. I hope that this is something that contributes to better preparedness across Indigenous communities across the country. I hope people pop in to take a look at it. There is a free trial if you want to go in and look and check it out. But if you have any feedback or want more information, please DM us through our TikTok account. You can email us at support@hazardscape.com. You can fill out the send feedback form, and you can help build this out and get some pretty good information going forward. Okay, everyone, good afternoon. Have a good May long weekend. If you didn't catch our situational brief for the weekend's fire and flood risk and weather risk for the long weekend, head over to our YouTube where you can get the full briefing for Indigenous communities right now. It's posted. We will be back live next week with our next sit rep. And I really appreciate all of your time, and we will see you in the future. Thank you all. If you found this beneficial and you want others like you to come across it, please like and share this videos so we can build up our community, so we can get more people in here using it, so more communities strengthen their emergency management program. Take care.